Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Gym Challenge Saturday. We have round 5 coming up here from Erik Halmstro, who we saw earlier in round 1, versus Tyler Deacy. So, as a reminder, Erik Halmstro is going to be running New Balance type of team, so that's Fluttermane, Iron Hands, Gyarados, Blue, Among Us, and Chew. This one is going to have a lot of protects on it. It's Assault Vest, Terra Grass. It's very similar to what we saw Riley Factura use to get top 4 at Fresno. On the other end, we have Tyler Deacy, who is running something very, very different and exciting that I think is worth getting on here, where we have a Gothitelle Azumarill, and we do see that Perish Song on the Azumarill, so enabling a bit of a Perish Trap build, but no Protect on the Azumarill. So normally, like, with Perish, you want to be spamming Protect so that you can get as much value out of it as possible. So seeing it without that, very interesting. You also see the Fluttermane, the Shenpao, King Gambit, and the Choice Band Arcanine with Flash Fire, not Intimidate, going straight for the jugular. So what we're seeing on Tyler's end of things is making a couple of Pokemon that we're relatively familiar with and kind of flipping it on its head, where, yeah, you might know how much an Arcanine does, but do you really know your Choice Band Extreme Speed calcs? Deep in your heart, do you have any idea what's going on? Especially combining that with the Shenpao and the Helping Hand on the Gothitelle, which just allows him to them to pin down any slot. Then on Erik's end of things, we see a much more traditional New Balance type of game. Now, New Balance is a type of build that it can inherently deal with anything, right? It doesn't have inherent weaknesses, it doesn't have bad matchups. However, this isn't a matchup you prep for. This is something that you sit down and you need to figure out over the board what is the best game plan here. So Tyler is going to be putting Erik's skills of formulating a game plan to the test. Now on Tyler's end, they have a couple of options, right? Because you have a lot of strong physical attackers here, and they're going to try to pin down the Gyarados specifically, I would imagine. Now they do have that King Gambit, which is going to be able to get a massive Defiant boost off of any Intimidate. So a lot of Erik's traditional counterplays to these types of teams might be a little limited, and it might be a bit trickier than what you would initially assume. So we're gonna getting into team preview here. We're getting sent out. We see Arcanine, King Gambit, again punishing that potential Gyarados versus the Chi-Yu Among Us. Now this is a safety goggles nasty plot Chi-Yu. So what that means is this Chi-Yu isn't threatening immediately all that much damage, but give it a bit and it can. Now normally, right, you see safety goggles on Arcanine, you don't care about the Among Us. Now Arcanine is trying to just line up strong damage into that Among Us slot and can tear water, but it's a little risky, right? Because might eat an Assurance. The Arcanine, it could go for a Wild Charge, it could go crazy here. And with that, it's Tyler has all this offensive pressure that it becomes impossible to cover everything. So with Erik, then things, sometimes you're just going to pick a couple of options to cover and hope that you pick the right ones. You see the Terrifier from the King Gambit. Not wanting to eat a Heat Wave, not wanting to mess with that. Making sure that the King Gambit is going to be around for a long time. Just able to consistently line up attacks into this Chi-Yu. Now, sorry, it's not going to be attacking the Chi-Yu. It's going to be bullying the Chi-Yu partner, and then presumably something like an Azumarill to deal with the Chi-Yu later. Terra Water from the Among Us and Protect on the Chi-Yu, but this could be bad if the attacks line up into the Among Us slot. We see Raging Fury. So that is Arcanine's new move. It misses and goes, Insurance goes, oh my god. Okay, so Raging Fury, new move that came out in Arceus, so it's now legal with Home, which is basically Fire Outrage. It's Flare Blitz cooler cousin. You don't have recoil, but also you have that, because you have to imagine that if Tyler just Flare Blitz Assurance, they'd be in a much better spot. But with the Raging Fury whiff, now things get suddenly a lot harder. You do see the Ozumero come out, which is going to be the perfect mon you want to stare down this Chi, right? You resist the Dark Pulse, it resists the Intimidate. King Gambit is going to burn sleep, and the big thing is, oh no, punishing the switch, punishing the fact that the Arcanine does not want to stay in and go for another Blind Raging Fury, and it's nap time. If you're awake, you're a Fae. It's everyone's doozing right now, and now the Chi-Yu is able to just do crazy damage. You see the Moongus going to be pivoting out into the Iron Hands, just trying to lay down another fake out for the Chi-Yu. Really just give it like 2 guaranteed turns of just like 3 huge damage. Dark Pulse going to be doing a good amount to it. Like King Gambit's Assault that's going to keep keeping it in the game, but we don't see the Wake Up, and the Ozumero stays. Now, obviously, things could be a lot better for Tyler right now, but there are a couple of key outs here, right? Namely, if this Ozumero is able to get a first turn wake, that could be massive. If the Ozumero is potentially faster than the Iron Hands, right? Can land an liquidation on the Chi-Yu or a play rough. You see the fake out coming out onto it, and yeah, but trying to go for a Desperado Sucker Punch, but he's going to stay asleep. And crucially, Ozumero does wake up, which means that for next turn, I'm going to be guaranteed to do something. And Erik did burn the Terra, but that King Gambit is going to be going down. Now, if the Sucker Punch went off onto the Chi-Yu, maybe the Aqua Jet could have been enough to take out the knockout. But now, I wouldn't bet on it. But it's still probably going to be in range for that liquidation. Now the pressure is kind of back onto Tyler here for how they want to go about trying to deal with this Iron Hands as well. We do see the Chen Pao coming in. Now, Chen Pao is kind of the perfect mon here, right? Have the Sacred Sword that you can lay down into the and threaten it with a knockout. Also are able to say, like, if you call a Protect, double into the Iron Hand slot. All of this is allowed, and it's like, it's the ball's in their court. Last time it really didn't go well for them, but now they have to get this turn right. They have to get momentum coming here. Erik switching out the Chi-Yu, not liking the situation, resetting it, getting it into the Gyarados, which will enable Iron Hands to live through the turn and guarantee some amount of value here. And additionally, like if you assume a Sacred Sword is going to be coming in here, you know that that's going to be resisted. That's an excellent switch from Erik's, and Wild Charge is going to be coming in here onto the Ozumero. That should be enough for a one-hit KO. Or not one KO with a little bit of fake out shit, but Ozumero going down, and crucially, that means that the Iron Hands is going to be faster than the Ozumero, which those are 2 bulky Pokemon that can just one-shot each other. So having one that just like outruns and can run through the other one is just such a huge difference maker. Now, Erik's got a full team. Erik has taken a total of, counted up, like 50 HP throughout this entire game. And Tyler, they're down to their last 2 Pokemon. And they do have the Arcanine with the Raging Fury and the Sword of Ruin boost. And you gotta imagine that maybe the calcs are crazy here. Maybe. And Erik's going to be like switching back into the Chi-Yu, trying to reset the Intimidate off on Tyler. Saying that, okay, if I'm able to layer another Intimidate down, I can make everything out of range. But all it'll take is just one untimely crit, and this could go south in a hurry. The double switch we see here, just trying to like preserve resources, get Fake Out back onto the board so that you can safely remove. And we see the Ice Spinner come out, not going to be doing anything into that Chi-Yu. And then the Raging Fury coming out. How much damage is this going to be doing? That is... What? That... yeah. Okay. Wow. That... Oh, I didn't expect that. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, now, the problem is... You're locked into a Raging Fury in front of 2 water types, but, you know, yeah, you're intimidated. Maybe with enough critical hits, though, like, you can get there. Crazier things have happened. Sacreds are going to come in. That's not doing any damage. Waterfall, crucially, the Gyarados is actually faster and just gets a clean one-hit KO onto that Arcanine, so not invested enough in speed to outrun it, but not invested in bulk enough to live the waterfall either. That is a tragic spot to be in for this game one, and this is, yeah, this is looking pretty over. Erik's going to go ahead and take game number one. Whew. Okay, so Raging Fury was very funny, but I mean, what that game came down to was that Tyler wasn't able to adequately punish any of Erik's switches. So Erik saw the offense Tyler was going for, understood what they were trying to do, just switched out. And the thing is, this Arc-9 with the choice band is so committal that once you get a singular whiff onto it, it's so easy to just like counter it. And what I'd like to see from Tyler's end of thing is just like, if you're using this kind of offensive team with all of this damage output, you have to be more willing to make calls about what your opponent's going to do, especially if it's relatively telegraphed switches, and just punish it appropriately. You can't just hope that Erik is going to stay in and just let his Pokemon take all that damage. Although, with Raging Fury, might not have a choice. I mean, one thing to note too there, right, is like on turn 1, if Raging Fury targeted into that Amoonguss, that was probably gone even with the Terra Water, right? Because then you get the Assured double base power, and then it's an entirely different game. And that just all comes down to kind of the RNG aspect of Raging Fury, which, while it is a very funny move, kind of question, like, you bet that they wish that they had Flare Blitz right about now. And we do see both people locked in their Mons, and running it back for game 2. If you're Erik, you don't really need to change up your right? Like, you figured that, like, you gotta see how Tyler does first, because they didn't do so much here. You see a total switch up. We see the Gothitelle and Arcanine. It's, alright, I might not be able to punish a switch, but that doesn't matter if you can't switch. You see the Amoonguss lead here, and now you can't do the Protect shenanigans. It's, you're locked in here with me, and while Dark Pulse can, like, pick up a knockout on the Gothitelle, it's tricky, right? Because, let's be honest here, we saw how much damage that Raging Fury did last game. Wouldn't surprise anyone if it was just a clean one-hit KO. And also, right, like, you are threatening both the Terra Dark on the Gothitelle and the Terra Dark on the Arcanine. It's just, whatever you Terra, it's looking a little dark. That you see the Terra Dark on the Gothitelle, which is going to enable it to stay around, stay on the field for several more turns, not care about the Dark Pulse. I think this is pretty crucial, just because, like, you're trying to line up the Fake Out and you're trying to line up the Raging, and this Gothitelle is going to be the way that you get value. You make it so that Erik isn't able to, like, switch in and switch out the Gyarados. Once the Gyarados is in, it's in, and that's going to make it a lot easier for whatever back Pokemon Tyler has to do so much more work. You see the Dark Pulse come in onto the Arcanine, that's going to do a lot of damage, and crucially gets the flinch. Oh my god. Psychic going to come out onto that Amoonguss to not do any damage, and then the Spore onto the Arcanine. Good night, sleep tight. That's rough. That Arcanine is not able to do anything, and don't know what that Arcanine was going for, but any hit would have done crazy amounts of damage, and it's, as quickly as it started, this game might have snowballed out of control for Tyler. You see Dark Pulse going to come in into the Arcanine, and there's nothing they can do about it. The Arcanine is just gone, and this Gothitelle, while it is locking in here with the damage, right, all you can do is just click Psychic. You have safety goggles, though. Crucially, you are whittling down the Amoon. So if you have something in back that doesn't care about it, be setting something up. Now, we do see the safety goggles coming out, but, and this is the big but, right? Like, what could Tyler have that'll let them stay in this game? And we do see the Ozumero. That's going to be the Mon that lets them stay in it, right? Miss both the hits from the Chi-Yu, you're threatening a knockout onto the Amoonguss, and you can hit the Chi later. Now, there is a couple of options here, right? Like, obviously, you want to just be going for the Play Rough and Psychic onto the Gothitelle slot, but the Gothitelle isn't doing that much here. Wouldn't surprise me if you're trying to line up a KO, like a switch into like a Chen Power or something like that. We see the Helping Hand going to come in. Flamethrower not going for the nasty plot, preserving the Terra for later. Going to be doing half to the Gothitelle Play Rough. That's going to be enough to knock out the Amoonguss. No need to worry about the Spore. Azumarill is not going to bed. Azumarill is staying up past its bedtime, and that Amoonguss is knocked out, and crucially, so is Eric's Terra. That means that later on, an Aqua Jet with the Sword of Ruin might be enough to pick up the knockout onto the Chi-Yu. Now, Chi-Yu is kind of like a sitting duck, or fish. I don't know, I don't know water animals. And again, switching in this Iron Hands here, because no, the Wild Charge is enough to pick up the Azumarill, but, this is the big but, Tyler is still threatening to, like, switch into Chien-Pao and Aqua Jet. Oh no, we see the Protect come in. That is going to save it from the Flamethrower, but we saw the Iron Hands outrun the Azumarill last time. Unless Tyler is banking on it being a speed tie, Wild Charge is going to come in. Is it going to be enough? It is enough to knock out that Azumarill, and that is tragic. Tyler needed to be able to generate slightly more momentum there. Either like call the switch or sorry, like call that it was going to attack, switch Gothitella into Chien-Pao, maybe get a like big Aqua Jet off. That's just not going to be enough. And you are threatening with this Sacred Sword. You are threatening with an Ice Spinner, but it's just so hard now. Crucially too, Tyler has not used Terra yet. Going for the Helping Hand, going to be going for a Helping Hand, knocking out one of these two Pokemon to see Helping Hand, Ice Spinner. Is this going to be enough to knock out the Iron Hands? It is not even remotely. And now this is just going to be a clean, just going to be an easy cleanup. Flamethrower going to be knocking out the Gothitelle. Drain Punch going to be knocking the Chien-Pao down to Focus Sash. That's going to be it. And Tyler is going to be knocked down to X and 2 without getting a chance to use their Terra. And like, that's the thing, Tyler had a couple of positions right, that could have swung this game. Obviously, getting an attack off with Arcanine on turn 1 could have been game-changing. But they weren't able to recover enough from like being put into that bad spot on turn 1. We see the Sacred Sword would have been enough to knock out the Chi-Yu too. Well, with the critical hit. But it's like, that's the thing, right? You could have gone for something like a Helping Hand Sacred Sword, pick up the knockout onto the Chi-Yu, and then it's a Chien-Pao Gothitelle versus the Gyarados Iron Hands. Who knows, right? Like, maybe you are able to win, especially when, like, I don't know. Like, you are able to threaten stuff, and the Terra Dark on the Gothitelle was important, right? Preserve the Chi-Yu. Sorry, to not fold to the Chi-Yu and be able to stay in its face and preserve the Shadow Tag. It's just, you, at a certain point, you stopped feeling the Terra. And Tyler, just like despite having all of this offensive pressure, it felt like they were never able to capitalize and get into a good enough position to really make Erik pay for it. I liked the approach with the Shadow Tag, and maybe if they didn't get flinched on turn 1, this could have been a very different game. But yeah, that's going to be a little rough, but that does mean that Erik is going to be going up to 4-1 and will be progressing on to Top Cut. Tyler is going to have to pray to the resistance gods and hope that the resistance is good enough. That'll be it for us for round 5, and we will see you shortly for Top Cut.